Hey patrons, it's Johannes from Noisebud, and today I'm releasing Shape2 Advanced 1.5, and it looks like this. Alright, to demo this, first, for those of you who don't know what this is a plugin to control your low end. And I'm gonna talk about all the controls, but first, just listen to what we can do with this. So we're gonna bypass this, it's bypassed, and I'm gonna play a silly loop that I created to demo this. And I'm gonna play 4 bars, and then I'm gonna activate Shape2 Advanced so you can see what happens. And if you don't sit in an environment where you have a lot of low end, do that. Put on your headphones if you're on your phone, or go into your studio and turn on those subwoofers. So here we go. Yes, that was some extreme compression and limiting with Shape2 Advanced. So kick you hardly could hear before Shape2 Advanced. Just yeah, and this is placed on the master bus. So all the instruments and everything is going in to Shape2 Advanced. Still, you can control the low end in such a way so it doesn't sound like everything is out of control and just boom or anything. It works. So let's talk a little bit about this plugin. The idea to Shape2 Advanced come from my plugin Sub. In Sub, there is a function that use a waveshaper to just grab the low end and just shape that to what you set it's into. The settings in Sub are really easy. You can just set like a linear curve where it should start and stop, and that's pretty much it. So basically what you do is you just narrow down the dynamic range to what the low end is able to exist in. And then you can dial in the like a makeup gain and stuff after that. So yeah, that's pretty much what Shape2 Advanced is. It's pretty much a waveshaper for the low end. In this version, here you choose the different kind of shape that are in. And the first version of Shape2 Advanced had gated, liner, soft 1 and soft 2. They are all just different curves that the low end should adapt to. So the soft 1 and soft 2 are different, soft curves for the low end. And those, I was usually using soft 1 or soft 2 because it has a natural, very pleasing compression sound to them. So I used either of those and then dial in some limiting and stuff with the other controls. But in this version, we can turn it off. And that's pretty weird, really, because this wave shaping was the whole idea why I created this plugin from the beginning. And now I can turn that off. It's pretty stupid. But the reason for that is because the difference between Shape2 Advanced and in Sub is that in Shape2 Advanced we could apply an envelope which listens to the original low end and takes that envelope and applies that to the newly created low end. So you can control the low end with the waveshaper, and then you can put on an envelope follower that was following the original low end. And that was the whole concept for Shape2 Advanced. But I realized that just the envelope follower is so cool that you don't need the wave shaping. So in this version you can remove that, and I still use the shapes at times because they do sound good. It's like a compressor without compressing when you use them. But most of the time I use this in off. So I don't use the waveshaper anymore. I just use the envelope follower. And we're gonna have a look at that today. With this settings that I had right now, they were pretty extreme. So I was boosting the low end with 30 decibels before going into the envelope follower and a limiter and stuff like that. So you can imagine that this is, I pretty much just killed all the dynamics in the low end. And then I applied the original envelope from the low end, which will bring back the dynamics. That means pretty much that I rip out all the original low end and pretty much gave it something completely new that's probably is mostly noise, and then shape it according to the original bass in the low end and end up with something that sounds really good. It sounds like a really well dialed in mastering chain pretty much, and it's so easy. Actually, let's remove the envelope, and we do that with this and listen to the same loop again and see how that sounds. You can hear that when I don't use the envelope and I'm dragging this to the far left side, it gets boomy at times, and that's because we're doing all that boost of the low end is constant. You don't then it's just like a huge level knob, but I drive that into a limiter, so it limits the signal, but it doesn't sound good. It's just too much. But when I start to introduce the original envelope again, then it starts to sound, good. Really. So, the differences between the earlier version and this version. I removed the harmonic thing. That's going to be a plugin on its own. I didn't like the implementation of it in the end. I liked it when I developed it first, and then I realized I never used that. And that means to me that it was badly implemented, but it was a cool idea, so I'm still going to do something with it, but just not in Shape2 Advanced. And I had the fundamental button where I now have an attack knob instead. So the fundamental function was it took the newly created low end and pitched that down an octave, and then you can apply the envelope from the original bass to that new fundamental, and by that you could create a huge low end. And that was also a really cool function, but I realized that I want more control to use that. So I created the plugin Solid, which is released for the high paying tiers right now, but everyone will have that. It's also an amazing plugin. I just need to have the time to write the manual. So until I've done that, it's just going to be available for the higher paying tiers. So that's why you haven't got it yet, but you will eventually. All right, but this Shape2 Advanced 1.5 has a manual, it has a demo, it has everything in place. So it's just go and grab it once you watch this video, or if you know what it is, then you just go and download it and have fun with it. Otherwise, stay around, because now we're going to start to talk about the new functions. The new things are as controls in here, except for the off mode in the shape, where you can put that the waveshaper to off. You have a curve control and an attack. And these are all a little bit green, because to show you that these are controls that are connected with the envelope. So you have attack, release, a curve, and the amount of envelope you want to add to the signal. Let's start play around a little bit with the curve, and to do that we're gonna dial back all the settings here. Actually, let's go back to the default settings, and I'm gonna dial something in where we can listen to the envelope in a better way than this. First we're gonna start to deactivate the black and white thing. Start with putting the low pass to 100 Hertz, the highest position, so we have more, it's easier to hear the low end. So that's step one. We do 100% envelope. That doesn't matter yet. We're gonna tweak that later, and let's see how this sounds. This will be good to demo this. Maybe boost it a little bit more. Let's listen to the curve. What happens with the curve when we take it to the right side of things, where we have a fast start and a slow end. As you can hear, the curve does a lot when you are working with the extreme left and right, like I did now. It's pretty much, it sounds like two completely different settings, but I didn't touch I touched the release a little bit. I shortened it a little bit. Actually, let's shorten it to 20 milliseconds and see what the difference when we use the curve is at these settings. So 0 attack and 20 milliseconds in envelope release. So with the curve, you can really dial in something that works. I think it depends on what you want. If you want something really snappy, but you still want a lot of low end, then use the right side. So you have a quick roll off of the envelope, but you put a longer release. That compared to a neutral position. Another way to do this is if you like this loop has a pretty uneven low end, so the kicks are at different heights on purpose, and the bass that starts playing is also a little bit uneven. And then it could be cool to run it to the left side, so it has a slower start but quicker end, and use a short release, and then you can compress it like hell. So let's push this like 25 decibels into or something, and see how that sounds. So the curve, it's really cool. I really enjoy having the curve. So curve together with attack and the release, and you can really dial something in that is exactly what you need for any situation. And the attack, I mean, it's just the attack of the envelope, but it can be fun to play around a little bit if you have issues with the low end causing limiting or clipping distortion in the transient. Then you can back off the attack just a little bit, and that may fix that. Or do something like we set the attack to about 7.5 milliseconds. So let's put a look ahead. So, and we can push up the attack a little bit more. And yes, I'm pushing the low end a little bit too far for demo purposes, so keep that in mind. All right, those are the new functions really. The rest of the plugin works as it used to. So if you used Shape2 Advanced before, then you're good to go. Download it, have fun with it. Otherwise, stay around and I'm going to talk just quickly about all the controls. So, compress low. This is pretty much just a level knob before you send the low end into the waveshaper or into the envelope follower thing. So it's just a gain knob, and it goes from 0 decibel up to 30 decibels for some really just crazy extreme boost of the low end. Normally you wouldn't need that, as the default position is 1.2 decibels, and that's what a good mix could maybe use that. It's like compressing or a gain reduction showing 1.2 decibels when you're using a compressor, and that's pretty normal in a mastering context. Maybe up to 3 decibels or something. 30, then you're just doing crazy stuff. But sometimes you get mixes that needs crazy stuff. And sometimes I have surprised clients with they sending me something and I say, hey, I can do this extreme thing with the low end. Let's see what you think about it. Otherwise, I'm just going to do a normal master if you don't like it. And a lot of the times they pick the Shape2 Advanced extreme version because it is just everyone likes tight low end. Almost anyone, not really everyone. I just talked to a client who hates low end, so I need to keep that in mind. Not all clients are the same. All right, that's the compress low. Pretty much the effect is that you're compressing the low end when you use that. But since with this version, that gets a little bit complicated when you put the waveshaper to off. Before, the waveshaper will just control how much you could boost. So this you could never go out of control. Right now, you can kind of go out of control, but there's a limiter here, and that's this little thing. I put the white dot here so it's easy to fetch that, but you can put your mouse anywhere to control the limiter. But I put it on the white dot and to control it. So when we play the audio, you see a meter here, and this will just block that where the meter is. Let's do that. As you can hear, it is a pretty effective limiter, so it's just really easy to control the low end, and it sounds good. It doesn't create any distortion or anything. You can just use it. It's easy. The big knob around here is just a makeup gain for, but it's placed before the limiter, so you can do. I usually try not to limit the signal by too much, so I rather have full control over it and dial in the final setting with the low peaks volume knob here. And that, in my opinion, I get a better result, but some people just like to smash everything into the limiter, and that's fine as well. You can do that. You can actually, let's remove the envelope, let's remove everything that this plugin is doing and just use the limiter and the gain here. Let's see how that sounds. That's also an option, probably the easiest option, because you just have a level and a limiter and that's it. So that's pretty easy to work with if you want that. Knock. Knock is a function that I don't use this that often, but it's a pretty cool thing. It finds the transients in the low end and tries to emphasize those. And then blend that together with the rest of the plugin. So that is, if you have something that feels a little bit too soft, you want a little bit more punch, you can use that. It will give you a little knock in front of mostly kicks, but even basses and stuff like that can come forward if you use that. Natural 30, this is pretty much, instead of using a high pass, because the signal that Shape2 Advanced uses that are sent to the waveshapers, that is high passed, because I realized while working with the first version that if you had a lot of boominess and stuff like that in the low end, I had to put other plugins in front of Shape2 Advanced to get rid of that before. So instead of doing that, I high passed the content that you work with in Shape2 Advanced. And that sounded better to me, and I never found a situation where I feel that I lack something. With natural 30 engaged, which is the default position, then it will let through everything below 30 hertz from the original audio, and that often sounds natural, and you rarely need to do anything down there. You can depress this, and that will remove the original low end below 30 hertz and just use the shaped low end. So that works pretty much like a high pass in that scenario. So sometimes it works really well. Sometimes I feel that I miss something when I don't have natural 30. So I tend to have that engaged most of the times. Mono will mono the new low end, not the original low end, but the new low end. So that is just a mono button if you want to center stuff a little bit. Low pass, you decide where your crossover will be. So everything below this frequency is what we're working with. And the dry wet control, it's just a dry wet control, and that's pretty cool. And that's actually how I often use this, that I dial in very extreme settings. It's not uncommon that I boost the signal with 30 decibels before, and yeah. So I set up the sound, I dial in a sound that's extreme, and then I just dial this back to maybe 15%, 20% or something. And that's exactly what the track needs. So you get the control, you get everything, all the positive things, but you don't get that totally smashed sound. So it will feel alive, but very controlled. So that's my recommendation. Don't be afraid to use this extreme and then dial that back with the wet dry control. The different shapes. Gated is a wave shape that it's liner until you get closer to silent. Then it will gate the audio away, and that was a really experimental thing because it looks really weird when you look at a waveform. That if you think of a like a sine wave going this, it kind of go like this, and then it gets silence, and then it's silence a bit before it go to to the other side. I kept it because it actually sounds good at times. So I like that. Sometimes, mostly not, but sometimes. Liner is just a liner waveshaper, so it won't. It will just pretty much clip what's extreme. So since a waveshaper just has a fixed point where the signal can't go higher, so it pretty much works like a clipper. Soft one, then the shape is a bit softer. That will add a kind of a compression to the signal, and soft 2 is a broader curve, so that will create more compression pretty much. And off, then you just using the envelope or no envelope at all, and just let the signal through to the final limiter, which will handle so it doesn't go too extreme. Then we have the black and white bottom. That is pretty funny because this little section is a dynamic bypass thing. And let's put the black and white on. This shows you when the plugin is active and actually doing something, then you can see the colors. When it doesn't do anything, then it's black and white. So if I play this now, it's black and white, and that's because I put the threshold to the max position, so the signal never got above the threshold. If I put the threshold to the other side instead, you will see that it has color because the signal will be above the threshold all the time. And you can control the curves that control this bypass by clicking this little button here. You get this little editing thing, and then you can control the curve that's used for the detection. So if you see the meter around this knob here, when it moves, and watch me change the release button here. That is the detection algorithm. So you can change the release of the detection. We put that back to default. The response is how the plugin, the bypass engine, or what you should call the dynamic bypass, how that curves look. Because when the signal goes below the threshold, we don't just turn off the plugin right away. We do a little fade, and these controls, attack and release, control that fade. So you can make it slower as the signal goes above the threshold. You can have the response a little bit slower, so it doesn't become fully active right away. It takes a little time. Same thing with release, but that's on the other hand when the threshold goes below the signal, or the signal goes below the threshold, sorry, how long that will take. And you see that as a little meter here in the middle that says 100% up here, and it's 0% down there, even if you can't, it doesn't say that in the interface. That's pretty handy, actually. I think more plugins should have this. It's really cool to play around with when the plugin should be active or not. The idea why I created this was to be able to detect if there's a break in music, especially electronic music, where you remove the low end in the break and then the drop comes, and everything should get back and be active. So instead of doing automation, you could use this dynamic bypass. So that's why I implemented it, but I use it a lot for different reasons. Sometimes for the feeling of, yeah, you can make it just be active at kicks, for example, and skip the things in between if you want to do that. So it's a cool function. Let's put it back to the default position. Then we have the, let's click this black and white button here that turns the black and white function off because there was users that didn't like this, or one user. So he got us a little button. So we can turn that off. We have the below control, and this is also really cool. A really simple thing, but it's really cool. It's the level that should be used when the threshold goes, the signal goes below the threshold. So you can boost or you can attenuate the signal as the signals go below the threshold. And it's really useful to add feeling to a track. So you really want, if you want that drop to really drop, then you can lower the level in the breaks and have it go up like a dB in when the drop hits. So you get more of an effect. We have this little button as well. This is just something to set, since the plugin don't know which level you are working at. So to set good level, so the meter and the threshold gets nice to work with, you just click this button. So let's do that. Or actually, let's do it like this. See if this works. Yeah. Now I pressed the adjust button when it was completely silent, and that made the Shape2 Advanced to gain up the input level by a lot. So now when I hit play, we're gonna have the wrong level. So this, you won't see the meter moving at all. It will be just at max position all the time. And then I can click this button to set that. So let's do that. And just like that, we have a good level to set the threshold. That's what that button is. Loudness compensation, it's for loudness compensation. So if we play a snippet here. Oh, sorry. I messed up. Sorry. So I did some extreme stuff. So I really changed the perceived loudness, and you can see that we lowered the loudness, or we lowered the level by 5.6 decibels when hitting loudness compensation. In this situation, you shouldn't dial in settings like that. That's just stupid. So let's back off with the dry and wet a bit. Delta, it's what delta is in all my plugins. So you listen to the delta signal. Can be interesting to see what the plugin actually does, and bypass will bypass the plugin, and open the manual will open the manual. And we have a look ahead where you set a look ahead. And that is Shape2 Advanced. It's amazing, and I think you're gonna love this one. So I hope you enjoy it. I completely love this version. I'm obsessed. So I'm gonna use it in all masters, probably. Even if it ends up like that, I'm gonna use it because I love it so much. So that's it for this week's release, and I see you soon again. Have a good evening. Bye bye.